What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of JK Philly. Today, we are going to do our early previews of how we think both of the conferences are going to go. Me and Kev both created a list basically on the East and West side, and we're just going to try to, compare and contrast our list and see how that goes. So,
Let's start with the East. Start on our side.
Got the stab boots on my back. I could load up and attack on anybody. Grab the gat, grab the mask. I think my aura going black, and I don't plan on turning back. What's the point of doing that when you got people that's around?
all right, so we got your list here. Well, just walk me through it a little bit. I think we're kind of similar. I think there's one team personally to me that pops out more than others, maybe even two, but just walk me through your 11 through 15.
Well, basically, I think there's not a lot of surprise there. I think the Hornets and the Nets are going to be the worst team in the East by a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Bulls have a little bit more talent on that roster, and I would say I think the Wizards have good young talent, but not enough to really make them fly up the standings in the East. I see them getting a little better than they have been the last year or two.
Mm-hmm.
But my big surprise on there is being the Pacers, just with obviously with Halliburton being out. I just don't see the talent on that roster being able to sustain a full 82 game NBA season without him out there running the floor every night and being the floor general that we know he is.
Mm-hmm.
But, these being my eliminated teams, not a lot to talk about here, not a lot of talent. These are the teams I think you're going to see in the lottery again next year. These are teams that are going to be fighting for that number one overall pick.
Yeah, I look at the team and Chicago. I can buy into that. I think I put them up a little bit higher on my list, but we'll go over that in a second. I think Pacers. You don't believe in a Andrew Nemhard or a TJ McConnell helping facilitate next year?
Well, no, I really don't believe in a TJ McConnell facilitation. TJ's a good little spark plug off the bench when you need a little shock and a little like spark of energy.
Yeah.
I've watched TJ McConnell be a starting point guard when Ben Simmons would miss games and stuff. That's not something you want. No, I do believe that's a recipe for a lot of L's.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nemhart is a high end role player. I think he's the best of what you get out of a guy you would consider a role player. Maybe a little better. Maybe is like a sixth man because he can score a bit, but no, I don't. I don't believe in that roster night in, night out to win basketball games consistently without Tyrese out there.
Okay. Yeah, I could see it. I kind of relate Nemhard as like a Derek White, and then I'm thinking of like if Derek White was like the main guy facilitating the offense on the Celtics next year, is like yeah, maybe that's not going to favor them too well. But let's move on to the next one. All right, so we're moving into your Eastern Conference play-in teams. Walk me through this a little bit. There's only one
Well,
team that I need to say anything about.
well, I have my generous Sixers prediction here.
Mm-hmm.
I think with a somewhat healthy season from Embiid and Paul George to a certain extent, I think if them two, I don't need those dudes out there for 65 games,
Mm-hmm.
but if they can both give me 48 to 50 games, I think the Sixers could be a play-in team next year. I think there's a lot of talent on the roster with McCain coming back, and hopefully we get this Grimes situation sorted out, and maybe this was just a little blip year for Maxi because he's out there with no support around him and he's just trying to do a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and he can kind of smooth back into that secondary role behind Embiid next year. So healthy, I think we're higher than a 7th seed, but I'm not going to go too crazy.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be too unrealistic about. I know Embiid's going to miss games. I don't know what Paul George is going to look like even if he's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of the Sixers, I think these are some shoe-in play-in teams. I like the Heat. I thought Powell was an acquisition, but I just don't see that. I don't know. I don't see this Heat team being much better than it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm not a Tyler Hero lead the team to victory type of guy. I don't believe in that. Um, to the Raptors, again, with a healthy Brandon Ingram, maybe the Raptors could be a little higher than a play-in 9 seed, but I can't remember the last time I saw a full healthy season out of Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
You still got Scotty Barnes down there. I like that. I like that combination if healthy, but again, just like the Sixers, a big if, and that's why I kind of threw them as a play-in team.
Right.
And the Pistons, were the one team I was a little hesitant about not putting higher,
Mm-hmm.
but I think maybe just with my track record of watching the Pistons my entire life, when they are good, this is kind of the extent of them being good. Like, obviously, since the Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups teams that were going to finals, when the Pistons put together good seasons, it's like an 8 seed. I like Cade Cunningham a lot. Maybe the Thompson kid takes another step. They have tons of young talent on that Pistons team, but I need to really see somebody emerge behind Cade Cunningham. I need to know who that solid 2 is on the Pistons before I'm ready to make them like a 4 seed or a 5 seed in the East.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with most of these teams. Definitely 8 through 10. Um, we'll go through mine in a second when we do the plan. I had the Sixers in the plan as well, but I didn't have them as a 7. But it's kind of the same explanation of like I don't need them to also play 60 games. If they both give us individually like 35, 45 games, something like that, hopefully, I think with the roster we could hopefully make something work, win a couple games that we shouldn't, maybe
Mm.
beat up on some teams that are just like not there on those days and something like that. But that's kind of my expectation for the Sixers. But let's move into your playoff teams.
So I tried to go a little different with the East this year. I think obviously the Cavs and Knicks are going to be fighting for that 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
I could I could see the Knicks being the one over the Cavs, but then again, I didn't see the Cavs change. I think losing Ty Jerome was a big deal for the Cavs, but I don't think that roster flipped over to the point where I could see them not being the 1 seed,
Mm-hmm.
especially with all the devastating injuries to these star players. You know, you're not going to see Dame in Milwaukee anymore. You're obviously not going to see Tatum with the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're the easy toss up for 1-2. Bucks, um, 3 probably maybe a little generous for the Bucks. Although I like the Bucks roster. I'm a big Giannis guy. I think this all depends on. I could see maybe a month or 2 into the season them being like, "Thank you, Doc Rivers," but for some reason, we're 4 games over 500 when we should be much better because that's
Mm-hmm.
Doc Rivers.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they get a better coach in there, and he really uh, unlocks everybody else because you got Giannis. It's really just how them guys are going to play off of him and around him. Um, Magic, I'm expecting a big jump from Paolo next year. Healthy season. The acquisition of Desmond Bain, I could even see maybe them being a 3 seed in this very, very weak East.
Mm-hmm.
Out West, I think the Magic are maybe a play-in team out West,
Mm-hmm.
but we're talking about damn near the minor leagues here in the East this season with all these injuries and these players being out. So I could see the Magic being a surprise young team.
Right.
I love the talent on that roster. A full healthy season from Paolo, I think you really see him take that superstar step. I have the Celtics kind of high as well because they're just a winning franchise. When I was looking for reasons why exactly, I was like, man, the Celtics are going to be the 5th seed. I was struggling a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe in good coaching, and there has been some turnover on that roster. You bring in the boy from the Trailblazers, and I don't know exactly how that's going to go, but Celtics are just one of those organizations. As much as I hate them as a Sixers fan, I believe in them year in, year out to figure something out.
Yeah.
And I don't see them being a 1 or 2 seed in the East or anything like that, but I could see them easily making the playoffs with that roster they have. Making noise in the playoffs, probably not, but I could see them in it again.
Hmm.
And the Hawks, I like the Hawks this year. I think the Hawks are going to have one of their better seasons. Again, I like their roster. It's young. It's gotten more athletic. It seems like there's a more help for Trey there instead of just asking him to play ISO ball every single position or pick and roll lobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I like what the Hawks are doing. So I would see maybe finally the team that always seems to be in the play-in just barely misses it and gets into the regular playoffs this year.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with most of these. I put the Celtics honestly a lot lower. The loss of Jason Tatum, of course, the loss of Drew Holiday, and the loss of Kristaps Porzingis. It's really going to be the Jaylen Brown show with Derek White and Pritchard. They got no center, and Jaylen Brown already has something wrong with like his finger or something that he always has an issue with throughout the year. So I'm sure he's going to miss some games. It's somewhat of not really caring too much about the Celtics because I'm a Sixers fan, but also just being like, I just don't think they're going to try to win too many games. I don't really see the point of them trying to push because they got no depth outside of those three guys, and the white boy Sam Hauser I think is still on the team, but like even him is
Mhm.
not a difference maker for that Celtics team. So I put them a little bit lower, but let's move into my picks. We'll start at the eliminated. So this is where I got my. We were just talking about the Celtics. This is my eliminated bracket because of those reasons specifically. Just jumping straight to the Celtics, I don't have them being that high. I don't think they're trying to win games. I'm pretty sure when I looked it up that in the Celtics world that they're trying to move Anthony Simons. So even in that sense, they're not gonna have a guy that's like out there balling every night alongside Jaylen Brown when he is playing. So I don't really see them going the distance this year, or even trying to be a good team. I don't think that's any fault to anybody. They just had to get rid of people because of the money that they had on that team plus Jason Tatum. So I don't think they're going to try too much. Obviously, like you said, the bottom two teams fighting for the worst in the East is not really anything different. They're even looking to get rid of Cam Thomas, I guess, because they can't figure out a contract agreement. So we got to see where he ends up going. So they really don't have anybody. I think when I was looking at the depth for the Brooklyn Nets, it said that the kid that they just drafted from Russia or somewhere, like Igor, I forget what his name is,
Mhm.
like he's gonna be their starting guard. So if that's what you're rocking with, like a bunch of draft picks and Michael Porter Jr., good luck to you. But uh,
Right.
Hornets are the same way. They just got Concanible, who should be good, but not going to be a difference maker in terms of this East. Wizards, like you said, are young. Alex I like their team. I feel like they're a little bit more constructed now. They got a lot of good young pieces, plus some, like we say in Philly, some good role models in C.J. McCollum and Chris Middleton. So they could make some noise eventually down the line this year. I still don't think they're going to do anything. And then kind of the same way, I didn't actually know I had the Bulls eliminated. I thought I had them in the play-in, but I might have put the Sixers. I might have switched them too. But the Bulls, they showed me last year that they were a 10 seed with that roster, and now they're having contract issues, I guess, with Josh Giddey, which is just going to make them worse anyway if they don't pick
Mhm.
him back up. So I would assume they would probably be eliminated as well. But just wanted to know your thoughts, I guess, about this.
My thought would be that was a great point with the Wizards. You really upgraded your two vets there when
Hmm.
when a year ago it was Jordan Poole and
Kyle Kuzma, yeah,
like yeah,
yeah.
it's like you did a great job upgrading your vets, and I like the young talent on that team too. Maybe they could be the surprise team because there will be a team on this list that's just completely either way down than we
Hmm.
thought they'd be up, or they're going to be way up. And maybe the Wizards could be that team. I don't think they really have that true superstar yet to really make that jump, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of young talent on that team. As far as your other picks, like you said, there's not much to talk with those other teams. I have the Celtics a little higher, maybe just because in my life I've never been lucky enough for the Celtics to really be bad.
Hmm.
So maybe that went into my decision a bit. I just had them higher because they're the Celtics. But you're right. When you look at that roster, you're going into the season with them actively trying to trade the guy they just got from the Blazers and Simons, and Jaylen Brown being hurt before the season even tips off.
Yeah.
It's probably not a good recipe. I could see them being way lower than where I had them at 5.
Yeah. Sure. All right, let's move into the play-in for the East. Yeah, my play-in team's a little bit similar. Obviously, like I said when talking about the Sixers, I didn't have them so high as 7. I
Mm-hmm.
had them more obviously towards 10. Raptors, I think we had in the same place for the same reason, and just switched Miami really. I was a little bit more high on Miami. I think Norman Powell, like you said, was a really good pickup for them. I think the way that he performed with the Clippers when it was just him and James Harden while Kawhi was out was
Mm-hmm.
enough to convince me that he may be like a good, if it has to be alongside Tyler Hero or if he's that guy, I guess, in Miami, then it could be a good outcome or they could at least get to the spot of a play-in spot. I like the guy, the rookie from last year, Khalil Ware. If they decide to stack them up like they do in Cleveland and put Ware at the 5 and Bam at the 4, or interchange them with
Mm-hmm.
Hero and the kid Davion Mitchell, who was really good in that play-in series last year. Tyler Hero and Norman Powell. I don't hate that team really. The team seems okay to me. I think they could make some noise, but I can also see it going really bad like it did last year too. But even every single year for like the past 4 or 5 years, they've been that 7, 8, 9 spot. So I'm just going to assume they're just going to automatically be in the play-in. And the Pacers
Yeah.
kind of the same reason of just I'm a little bit more hopeful on them because I think that Nemhard can facilitate and they can still win games because they still got Nemhard, they got McConnell, of course, Siakam, Neesmith, and somebody else too that I'm forgetting off the top of my head. But at the same time, they don't have Miles Turner, so that was a big loss for them, and they don't have Halliburton. So we'll see how that team goes. They can definitely fluctuate, but just wanted to know your opinions.
Really, all we switched here was the Bulls and the Pacers. I pretty much agree with you straight through on play-in teams.
Yeah.
I'm a little lower on the Pacers. But now that I'm thinking about that Bulls roster really through and through, there's probably not much on that Bulls roster that makes them better than the Pacers. So I could see them. I wouldn't mind swapping them on my list. They're teams, I don't want to say in the same boat because in a different world, the Pacers are having much higher expectations this year and the Bulls are just kind of the Bulls again. But I see them kind of being the same team record-wise just for different reasons.
Yeah. Yeah, and a jump from being 4 last year, of course, with Halliburton to now losing Halliburton and Turner could be a recipe for them to be eliminated, but I think they can figure it out. I think they got a good coach in Rick Carlisle that he can figure it out with majority of that team that was role players and just try to work something out. But
that is true.
Yeah.
Very well coached team.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to the playoff teams then. This is my playoff team. A little bit similar to yours. Honestly, I think I swapped every single one that you swapped because I think you had the Pistons at 7. So I think the Knicks with Mike Brown is going to be very good. I think he's going to figure out a good recipe. He's actually going to use the depth of his bench and be able to make something out of it, basically. They didn't get there for no reason. They're a good team. They're a talented team in Jalen Brunson. And they also just picked up Yabu Sele, who's going to be a good backup for them if they put him in the 4 or 5 if they want to play small without Cat. And then Jordan Clarkson they picked up as well when he's not hurt. I don't know how, true it was in Utah when he was hurt every other game, but if he's not hurt, I think he's also a good backup role player that can help with that team. But moving down the line, like you said, Cavs and Knicks are still going to be fighting for 1 and 2, so it's no real difference there. I was a little bit more higher on the Magic just because of the addition they made of Desmond Bane. And they also just got somebody else who I can't think of. Oh, they got Tyus Jones, I think his name is, the guy from
oh, okay.
Phoenix.
That's a good That's one of my favorite backup point guards in the league.
So Tyus Jones alongside Desmond Bane, Wagner, Banchero, and then Jalen Suggs, who's also going to come back too after injury. I think if that team stays healthy, of course with Mo Wagner also at the 5 coming off the bench, but they also have Wendell Carter Jr., I think that team can definitely make some noise if Mosley figures it all out. Because from when we talked to the Orlando Magic guy, the fan, he was just saying that it felt like a lot of your turn, my turn between Paolo and Franz. So if they figure out how they're going to play that and keep up the defensive side that they did last year, I think they're definitely going to be a team that's going to take a jump. Just breezing through these last ones, Milwaukee, if they choose to use Giannis as like the playmaker this year and Doc's really going to do that, I think they can be at that 4 level. If they choose to, I don't know, put like Gary Trent or somebody in that starting point guard position or somebody else like a Cole Anthony, I think it's going to drop off a lot than 4, and they might be a play-in team. Hawks are kind of similar. I like Jalen Johnson. I think Kristaps, when he actually gets some playing time when he's not hurt, is definitely going to help that team and help space the floor. And the Detroit Pistons, I'm just a little bit higher than you on just because they've got good pickups. They got Karis LeVert, and they just got Duncan Robinson for more shooting. And they also got Jalen Duren, who I also like as a center with Kate Cunningham. And Jaden Ivey's coming back off an injury, so I think that team can also make a jump. But we'll probably still be in that playoff position.
I was just going to say to the Pistons, like you were just naming off all those young names, Duran's one of my favorite young big men in the league. Ivy, I would love to see Ivy take that step and really be that solid 2 behind Cunningham. And if he can do that, I think that team can really have a good year, especially with the Thompson kid. He's not Amon, but he's very good. And it's funny because their games are extremely similar. It just seems like Amon's might be a little bit more polished. He's a little more consistently getting to the rim.
Yeah.
But I like Asor too. I think there's still steps for him to be taken in his game. And if they get a couple things go right, I could see them being a top 4 seed in this weak East.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. All right, well, let's move into the West. We'll do your teams first. Thank you guys for watching another episode of JK Philly. Make sure you stay tuned by subscribing to the channel.